You know, Alex, I was looking at my old shop journals from 10 years ago this morning. I had a page dedicated to how revolutionary a basic digital readout was on my milling machine. I felt like I'd just mastered fire.
And let me guess, now you feel like a caveman because your screwdriver doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi yet?
Close. I've been looking at this new Mastercam 2026 release. They've integrated this AI-enabled programming. It's supposedly 10 times faster on the simulation side. Back in the day, I'd hit simulate on a complex toolpath and have enough time to go brew a fresh pot of coffee and ponder my life choices before the screen stopped lagging.
So you're saying the machines are finally catching up to your caffeine habits?
It's terrifying, honestly. We're talking about moving from minutes of waiting to literal seconds. It takes the thinking time out of the equation. But there's a catch. If you let the software think for you, you'd better be damn sure you fed it the right data. It'll crash a $300,000 spindle into a vise 10 times faster than a human ever could.
It's funny you mentioned that cost, because a lot of people are jumping into these high-tech systems thinking it's a set it and forget it situation. But speaking of big-ticket items, Mazak just dropped their Optonics LZ series. These are 2D laser cutters aimed at smaller shops.
That's the danger zone, Alex.
Why the danger zone? Isn't accessibility a good thing?
It is, but it's like giving a teenager a fighter jet to go pick up milk. When high precision laser tech becomes accessible, every hobbyist with a silver tongue thinks they're a manufacturing conglomerate. I've seen guys buy a machine like that before they even have a drainage system in their shop floor. It's a beautiful piece of kit, though. The LZ series is basically bringing aerospace accuracy to the guy making custom signs in his garage.
Well, maybe those sign makers should head to the Modern Machine Shop Top Shops conference in October. I saw they're expanding into industrial finishing this year.
Now that is where the real secrets are buried. You can mill the most perfect widget in the world, but if your powder coating looks like orange peel or your anodizing is streaky, your customer is going to look at you like you've handed them a half-eaten sandwich. Finishing is the polishing the chrome of the industrial world. It's the difference between a tool and a product. Speaking of products, I had a heart-to-heart with an old buddy who's trying to sell his auto shop. He's a master tech, the kind of guy who can diagnose a vacuum leak just by the way the car idles. He's been at it 20 years, but he's miserable.
Let me guess. He thinks the shop is worth a cool million because he's a legend in the neighborhood?
Exactly. He's got 20 years of sweat equity and a Rolodex full of loyal customers, but the moment he steps off the shop floor, the whole operation grinds to a halt. I had to tell him straight, brother, you don't own a business. You own a high-stress job where you happen to pay the rent.
That's cold, Tiger. But true. If the owner is the only one who knows the secret handshake to make the shop run, there's nothing for a buyer to actually buy.
It's about systems. A shop's value is in the workflow, how that car moves from the curb to the lift to the invoice. If the owner is the bottleneck, the business has a ceiling. Technical skill is just the ticket to get into the building. Efficiency is what pays for the building.
So, how do you shift that mindset, especially for the maker moguls listening who are maybe just starting to sell their stuff online?
You have to bait the hook properly. Take March, for example. Everyone's thinking about spring and Easter. If you're a woodworker making a $50 heirloom Easter basket, don't just post a photo of the basket and hope for the best.
You're talking about the freebie funnel, right?
Precisely. Throw some printable Easter coloring pages on your site for free. Sounds silly, right? A woodworker giving away PDFs? But when a parent downloads that to keep their kid busy for 10 minutes, you get their email. Now, you aren't a stranger. You're the person who saved their afternoon. When you send them a photo of that handcrafted wooden toy next week, they're already listening.
It's the first hit is free strategy, but for crafts, I like it. But what about the folks doing the physical grind at craft shows? I saw a stat that clear booth signage can jump conversions by 30%.
Honestly, it's probably more. I've walked past booths where I couldn't tell if they were selling the pottery or the table the pottery was sitting on. Your sign is the person who talks for you when you're busy taking a credit card payment. It needs to tell your story in 3 seconds, or they're moving on to the next booth for a kettle corn.
Okay, let's pivot to the weekend warriors. I saw a piece on thermal mass greenhouses that looked fascinating. It's not just 4 walls and some plastic, is it?
Oh, it's much more clever than that. It's basically a battery, but instead of lithium, you're using rocks or water or concrete. You build a massive wall on the north side, paint it a dark color, and let the sun bake it all day. Then, when the sun goes down and the air turns crisp, that wall starts breathing heat back into the room.
It's like a radiator that doesn't have a power bill.
Exactly. I'm actually looking at a design that attaches a workshop to the greenhouse Imagine working on a project in February and the heat from your tomato plants is keeping your fingers limber. It's a symbiotic relationship. I provide the CO2 for my heavy breathing while I struggle with a dovetail, and the plants provide the warmth.
I can just picture you huffing and puffing over some oak while a fern watches you judgmentally.
That fern has seen enough of my mistakes to write its own book. Speaking of mistakes, you ever try to put a threaded insert into a piece of fine furniture and have it go in at a slight angle?
Oh, the Leaning Tower of Hardware look? Yeah, it's a classic, usually followed by a lot of creative swearing.
Well, here's a trick that'll save your soul. Take your project over to the drill press. Put the bolt or the insertion tool in the chuck, and this is the vital part, do not turn the motor on. Just use the quill to press down while you hand turn the chuck.
Wait, so the drill press acts as a perfectly perpendicular guide?
Bingo. It's using a precision machine as a glorified hand tool guide. It's one of those things where you feel like you've cheated the system because the result is so perfectly square. It's simple, but it's the difference between a homemade project and a bespoke piece of furniture.
You're getting fancy with your words today, Tiger. Bespoke. What's next? Are you going to start wearing an apron with leather straps and talking about modern barn sophistication?
Hey now, don't knock the modern barn look. I've been looking at some of these new rural builds. It's a tough needle to thread, making something that looks like it belongs in 2026, but doesn't look like a spaceship crashed in the middle of a cow pasture.
They call it sitting sensitively in the landscape, right?
Yeah, which is just architect speak for not being an eyesore. It's about using honest materials, heavy timbers, dark metal, lots of glass, but keeping the silhouette simple. It's a masterclass in restraint. Most makers, myself included, have a tendency to overcomplicate things. We want to show off every technique we know in one project. A true master knows when to leave the wood alone.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from AI-driven CNC paths to the psychology of selling Easter coloring pages. What's the one thing you want the den to walk away with this week?
I think it's the realization that the stuff we make is only half the battle. Whether you're running an auto shop, a CNC business, or a DIY greenhouse project, the value isn't in the metal or the wood, it's in the intention. It's the difference between having a job and building an asset.
So, look at your systems. Build things that can outlast your own hands.
Exactly. Don't just work in your shop, work on it. And for heaven's sake, keep the motor off on that drill press when you're doing the inserts. Your furniture will thank you.
And your fingers will too. Thanks for joining us in the den, everyone.
Stay hungry, stay humble, and keep building. We'll see you next time.